The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Alpha Sessions. Today we have the wonderful Leo Kelly G.
Thank you very much for having me, thank you.
Now we've had you in, well not in before, we've had you on the show before.
Yes, this is the first time actually being here in person, so it's nice to see you guys in person.
It's nice. Now what the audience at home doesn't know is we've had quite an eventful session.
Yes, we have. Should we delve into it or...?
No, I think we should forget it ever happened.
We'll forget it.
We're having a great time. So I mean, people might have seen your sessions before, but yes. For those who haven't, give me a brief overview. Where are you from? Where are you now?
My name's Leo Kelly G. Thank you, Mum and Dad, for that wonderful surname. Got me through school wonderfully. I'm from Chatham in Kent, or Medway in Kent originally. Well, Chatham's in Medway. But yes, I'm from there. I'm a singer-songwriter, guitarist, and I've been sort of gigging for the last... God, how many years is it now? 11 or so years. And I've got a new single out, which is it came out last Friday, the 18th, so it's out now. You can stream it everywhere.
How would you describe your sound? And we've had you played like 4 songs for us today.
Yes, 4 songs so far. Thank you very much.
I picked up a lot of influences in it, but how do you want to be known?
Oh man, I hate this part. Only because I think like if I was just a singer, then I could you can put yourself in that sort of box and sort of like if I just play guitar, same sort of thing. But I mean like the biggest influence on my playing is sort of like and sort of inspiration wise is John Mayer really. So sort of like being able to sing well I can sing wellish, she can sing very well, and then obviously like being able to and having sort of interesting guitar parts underneath what you're singing, and then sort of like focusing on the kind of like the songwriting and sort of lyric driven stuff as well. I
also feel like you got this kind of happiness. You exude happiness.
Oh, fantastic!
In your music. I don't know. Maybe it's just like a major thing, like as in like chords.
Yeah.
Like very very major. But
I mean, I'm dead inside. It's all I'm asked.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, should we delve into this?
Yeah.
How's your emotional side?
Well, my mother. No.
It's getting very heavy very quickly. So was your first instrument guitar? Because your guitar playing is so strong.
No, so my first thing was actually piano to begin with. So I had piano lessons from 11 till 14. But I fell out with my piano teacher. He was a big, amazing. He still is an absolutely amazing classical player. But I think until very recently, I think I was a little bit too young to kind of appreciate what he was trying to do. So I remember asking him. In one of the lessons I was like, can you give me something to play that I can like put some emotion into it, like in the sort of like arrogant teenage way that you'd say that sort of thing, and he gave me a funeral piece to play, and so I think like emotion yes, but not quite what I was kind of going for, and so I think we parted ways, and so then I picked up guitar on a whim. I went on I used to swim competitively when I was sort of from the age of like 10 to 17. We went on a training camp to Italy for 2 weeks, which was really, really good fun. In one of these holidays I came back and my dad had just bought me a guitar. I was like, do you want to try that? Basically. And so just sort of picked it up and sort of started working towards it, and yeah, just it really took off. I mean, like it was, I think what was nice that I had the theory from the piano side beforehand, and a lot of songs that I already knew, so it was a lot of kind of like one-to-one like transition from playing piano to playing guitar, and it's just more portable, I think, for one, and just like I think there's a lot more you can do on a guitar. You can obviously bend notes, you can sort of do the whole like percussive, like you can accompany yourself completely on a guitar, whereas I think on a piano you need to have, if you want to have like rhythm and drums and everything else, you need to have other people playing, whereas like it was a completely self-contained thing that I could sort of play and bring with me and sort of move around and write music on without needing to have like not finding a band or anything else. I think that's what sort of really took towards it, basically.
And I suppose that's where the songwriting began. So when you're playing piano, it was strictly just what you were learning at the time. But then when you picked up the guitar, is that when you first started writing music? Yeah,
pretty much. I tried a little bit on piano before, but never really anything particularly nothing worth mentioning. But I think with guitar, I think with guitar versus piano, you can write like guitar parts a lot more, I think, on guitar, and also just, again, it's just sort of like you're sort of standing up and sort of like singing and everything just feels a lot more, at least for me, it felt a lot more natural playing guitar. And so that was where the songwriting sort of started. Sort of thing. I wrote my first like song that my parents thought was okay when I was about 15. I tried many before that, and they were quite honest. Actually, they were like, that's not that's bad, Leo. Honestly, they were very, very honest. So the first decent one, they were like, that's not bad, was when I was about 15. And I've sort of been going since then.
And your EP, your first debut EP, came out the year after that.
No, so it came out when I was 20. So I was 15 in 2010. And showing my age now. And it came out in 2016, so I would have been...
Since 2016.
Yeah, so I started recording it in 2014, so I would have been 19. It came out when I was 21.
And what was that EP called?
Under a Blue Sky.
That's quite a while ago. I was looking at your Spotify releases, and between that, so that came out in 2016, and then you put singles out in 2020 or 2021.
21, and then this Friday just gone 2022.
That whole gap. What happened in that whole gap?
I mean, university was a big part of it. So university happened. So I went to uni, and I think that because the first the EP came out in my at the end of my second year, because I started recording it before I came to uni in my gap year, and then like the first year of uni sort of happened, so then I couldn't record it then, and then I sort of got in the middle of second year, got into record it, so then it got released in second year, and then obviously COVID happened after that as well, so sort of like I had the original plan was to have a 12-track album to record, so I was going to record that in the start of 2020, thinking 2020 is the one that's going to be, this is the year that it all happens, and then obviously COVID happened, and so that sort of like got in the way a little bit of the recorded tracks, and then sort of in the pandemic I started writing other stuff as well. So the one I released in the pandemic was with a guy called Matt Gino, so we started writing that in the pandemic. We recorded it in December 2020, and then released it in 2021. But yeah, so basically university and a pandemic sort of explains the 5-year gap between 2016 and 2021 and sort of in terms of releasing music. But I've got lots more recorded now, so I can actually start releasing stuff en masse, and it's going to be a lot more frequent now, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Right. But you were doing music within this period, so were you at uni just casually, or what did you study? You didn't study
history with a European language.
Where does that come from?
It was like a plan B, basically. Sort of led to go just in case. Like I always wanted to have music as a profession, always wanted to do it as a job. But I think it's one of those. It can be a very risky business if you do it full time. I mean, like as the pandemic showed, so many people. Like I had a load of my friends who worked in musical theatre. 2 of them, they had one was an understudy for the Phantom of the Opera on the West End, and the other one was the lead in Hairspray. And like pandemic, there's just no work, so they both went to work in supermarkets. And so I wanted to make sure I had some sort of plan B to fall back on in case I went to sort of conquer the world with music and then it didn't work out. And then I always enjoys history, and then history of the European language. I did German because I've done it since I was sort of 11, and then it meant I got to spend a year in Berlin, which was really good fun too.
Do you have German heritage, or do you just interested
No. So just started studying it at school, and then I was really lucky, and I moved school in 6th form to do the IB instead, and I was the only person studying German in the whole year, so I got like 1-to-1 German tuition for 2 years basically from the teacher, so I got very lucky there. So it was quite nice as well. So
the first song you played for us was from the EP from 2016.
Yes, that was So.
So tell me all about that one. How did that one arise?
So that one sort of arose from when I was sort of like 14, 15. I'd started. I was playing obviously by myself, writing my own stuff, but then I also got very lucky to join like a band of a few people who were quite a bit older than I was, and that song sort of came around from all of us sort of like trying to write sort of. All trying to write songs, sort of seeing what we came up with, and then and my one just luckily sort of came out as the of that session. That was sort of the best one we came out of, and the song was basically just about kind of sort of I guess discovering sort of who you are and not really apologising for it basically. So the whole idea of sort of like, so what if I'm not like the others, was just sort of like just being like, this is me, this is who I am, and I'm quite happy being it basically.
There's about 1 million different little tiny things inside my head. Each has got his own hypothesis about the other. It's not a battleground, it's never been. It's just the way that things get done, while I hide away a Sunday morning amidst the covers. Corners and I'll straighten out the bends. I'll iron out the creases in the curtains. It's got to be a monthly thing or else I'm gonna mess it up again. And I bet you I could tell you that for certain. So what if I'm under the covers? Heroes don't get up till noon. So what if I'm not like the others? I'm not changing anytime soon. So there's about 100, give or take a dozen people I could recognize. Aside from them, to everybody else, I'm just a stranger. I walk along it with the optimist without a visible disguise. But behind the mask is where the people see the danger. So what if I'm under the covers? Heroes don't get up till noon. So what if I'm not like the others? I'm not changing anytime soon. So why try to change me? So why try to change me? So why try and change me? And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's made to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. So what if I'm just like my brothers or anyone else, if that's true? Well, I won't be mistook for another. I'm not changing anytime soon. I'm not changing anytime, not changing anytime, not changing anytime soon.
The Alpha Sessions.
You do seem very self-assured, which is a great thing. Like, you're very positive, but also just very, no, you're ready to go.
Thank you.
No, that comes across in the music as well.
As I say, all a front. It's all a front.
But it's still good, because I think that it's kind of lacking a lot at the moment. For a lot of people, everyone's got
Do you think so?
Low, a bit blue. And in music, there's a lot of happy music, but I think it has a happy sound. But when you actually listen to it, you're like, oh, it's really dark.
Yeah,
Whereas
I know what you mean.
It's nice to have kind of a positivity. So I wrote a few names down when I was listening to you play of who you remind me of, and there were 4 that always came through. There's one that I just couldn't pin down, and then I got it in the end. But the first one was James Taylor.
Oh wow! Oh, that's brilliant.
Second one was Newton Faulkner.
Yes.
Yes. Because I loved Hand Built by Robots. That
man, I was obsessed with Newton Faulkner. So sort of I played guitar for about a year, like playing sort of like Oasis and kind of Jason Mrazzi, Jet Johnson stuff, and then I discovered like Andy McKee and Newton Faulkner. I was like, oh, you can do that on a guitar, and that he completely blew me away.
Third one was John Mayer, but you've already mentioned him.
Yes, that's the
big
one.
And then the fourth one that I couldn't pin down, is very specific when you were singing,
Ooh.
was Billy Joel.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah, well, because there was this note in Headphones, the last one you did in the single.
Yeah.
And I need to ask you about the lyric, but it's like in just before the chorus, what I thought was the chorus, just before the kind of tagline comes in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was saying that every time you do it, I was like, who is that? Is there something about the tone? But also it's kind of storytelling.
Oh my God.
Which is very him.
Like, that's honestly the biggest compliment. I've been obsessed with Billy Joel for absolutely years. Like, do you know the album The Stranger?
I think that's
like I discovered that while I was at uni, and like literally for the whole, it's like the soundtrack to my university years. Like, I absolutely love Billy Joel. He's like him and like him and Paul Simon. I have those two as sort of like two of like the best like songwriters like ever. I think it's sort of like, or of the 20th century at least, like in terms of like playing and singing and everything at the same time. So yes, thank you so much. That's really nice. Thank you.
That's good.
But gosh.
It does show, like it comes through. But yeah, it was like a feeling rather than he sounds like that guy. Which is another really good thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
But I mean, returning to this kind of inspiration, how did you develop that? So you have a love for these people, they're like your idols, but do you ever sit down and channel it? You think like, I want to write a song that sounds like this John Mayer song, or do it just comes to you?
I think it's such an interesting question, that, and I like sort of breaking into someone's songwriting process. I think inspiration wise, in terms of playing, like I obsessed over like Newton Faulkner and John Mayer, those two guys, and sort of like before YouTube had the slow down function, like watching their videos on YouTube, trying to work out like what the hell they were doing sort of guitar wise and stuff. And I think from like imitating it and sort of like trying to like copy it so much, it just bleeds its way into your playing. And so sort of all that kind of like wrapping your thumb around the neck of the guitar, sort of like that's all based all John Mayer, and sort of like, so whenever I even just like the anatomy of a guitar, and sort of when I come to play, like it's all John Mayer based sort of stuff. And Newton Faulkner as well, sort of all the like little fret tappy bits and kind of like that all comes from it, just from trying to do it, and then sort of like getting like it's almost like it's delving underneath like just copying and sort of like trying to work out like what the intention is behind what they're playing, and sort of like trying to break into that. And if you break into that sort of thing, then you can take what the intention is, and then that bleeds into your own playing without you really thinking about it. You know, sort of like even just sort of the terms of the sort of the right hand sort of groove stuff. If you can copy like the feel of like a right hand groove on guitar or something, you know, or a strumming pattern or something like that, then like obviously you can change the chords around. Then the sort of like it doesn't sound anything like what it was in the first place, but it's sort of like, but it's still like that part's still John Mayer or Newton Faulkner or whatever it is. And then Billy Joel, sort of songwriting wise, I think I've been in a relationship. My girlfriend, now wife, I met her when I was 16, so when I moved school, and so we've been together for it was 10 years. It'll be 11 years in February since we started going out. And so I think writing the kind of love songy stuff, like it's always usually sort of heartbreak stuff, you know, always right. And I think a lot of people find it quite easy to do that. I really struggle because of it. Not in a sense of like, oh, I'm so happy, but like I feel like it would be disingenuous to sort of like, because if you write a song about having a problem in a relationship, everyone knows, oh, that's about your wife then, because I've been with her for 10 years. And so I think I always tried to write stuff that was sort of slightly less like based around sort of like, oh, like I'm in love with you or you've broken my heart kind of thing. And so sort of like I've always tried to find other songs that are a bit more, or not other songs, but other like topics and things, just that I can believe myself. Because if I end up writing a love song or a heartbreak song, like it will feel disingenuous for me to write it, I think. And I worry that then obviously if I perform it, then people are like, well, he doesn't mean that, because obviously you know, they'll know that it's not I'm not singing about something that's actually happened to me. I'm sort of trying to imagine some problem in my relationship, that there are problems in my relationship, but you know, obviously trying to like you know, bring something to the fore that's not real, basically.
So you don't like to get too personal?
It's not that it's too personal, I think, but obviously like you know, if I was to write a song about a problem that I'd had with my wife, obviously like that would go out into the world, and then the whole world would know the problem I'd have with my wife. You know, if we'd broken up and it was sort of like something, then maybe or divorced now. But if that was the issue, you know, but I think fingers crossed. But yeah, so I think it's more out of consideration for like the other person in a thing like that, especially like if you're still with them. I think I'd feel a little bit sort of strange for that. I've written one love song to my wife since we've been married, and it took me like sort of 10 years to get around to it. But yes, I don't see it as a lack of like sort of like delving into sort of like myself. There are sort of like there's songs that I've written that do go into that, but sort of like the stuff that isn't necessarily just sort of related to matters of like being in love or sort of being heartbroken, basically.
So when you sit down to write, obviously you've got these guitar influences. Is
Yes.
that where you start, or do you start with the feeling? You think, oh, I want to write something because I feel a certain way.
It depends really. I think it like sometimes it is guitar based. If there's a riff that sort of really works, then I can sort of build something off of that. Sometimes it's a lyric or something. So like London Wonder that I played, sort of like I was obsessed with that, like that ba 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 ba, that interval, I was for about a couple of years, like I just really loved the way it sounded, and so then sort of that slowly moved into like London Wonder, and then everything else sort of literally came from that phrase. And then sometimes it's like conceptually, like it's kind of like what would be an interesting thing to try and write a song about, and then like the sort of the concept just sort of like floats, you know, around somewhere for a while, and then it's pegged down by either a lyric or by a guitar riff or something. And then so like there was a song I wrote a while ago called well, like Headphones is a good example. So like I'd wanted to write that song for such a long time, sort of ever since I moved to London, and sort of saw everyone, like if you walk down Euston Road, like everyone has their headphones on, and sort of imagining like what they were listening to. That was the idea for Headphones, and obviously the idea of everyone walking as well, sort of having that sort of like walking kind of like 6/8 kind of beat. But until I came up with that riff, it was sort of like, okay, that's like what it needs to sound like. Whereas before it was sort of just floating around, like I want a song that's in like 6/8 and it's about headphones. And then like when a guitar or something, when either guitar riff or a lyric will sort of like just occur, and then from there I can start writing basically. So it's sort of like concept, peg it down with something, and then start writing basically.
That's really interesting. It's like a proper plan. Like you have a very safe headspace. Everything's very pinned down.
Yeah, I mean it's very nebulous. Like the idea is sort of like and it's like when you ask me about like what the song's about, I really struggle to sort of like say what my song's about, in terms of maybe I just need to like practice actually like describing them, talking about it to people. But it's that sort of like, so it's a nebulous idea, and then like by then like writing them sort of, we're like pegging it down with sort of lyric by lyric and thing by thing, then like the idea sort of comes out. And it's kind of, I mean, I don't know if you find the same thing when you write your stuff, but like it's kind of like it's a fun exercise in seeing like how you're, like what the song's actually about, because sometimes like you think you want to write a song about like a particular thing, or sort of you have a rough feeling, and then sort of the more you flesh it out, you realise actually
it's not about that.
It's not about that at all. Yeah, exactly. And I always find that really interesting as well. So it's a kind of a it's like heavy self-evaluation kind of thing, and sort of like seeing what you actually kind of mean and what you actually want to do. But it's really good fun as well.
And you also played Free.
Yes,
that was one of your singles. That was, I mean, the comeback single, I guess, after your time away.
Yes.
So was this written a long time before, and then you just thought, right, I'm ready to release, or was this?
So that was written in the pandemic, and again that was the same sort of thing where like the idea of what was the line that came in? It was "In my mind, I'm going to fly away." That line was there, and I'd had that little sort of guitar riff, the kind of like sort of cross-picky country kind of thing. I'd had that for ages and ages and ages, and again, it was sort of like, it'd be really cool to write a song with that. No idea what to do with it, and then I think obviously just the feeling of being stuck in lockdown and not sort of like, you know, being able to do anything, especially musically as well. Like I was working as a wedding singer sort of pre-pandemic, so like I had no work for like 3 months as well. So sort of like just the frustration and everything with that, sort of like the desire to kind of just escape it all and fly away, came out in that lyric. And then from there, then everything sort of just, again, that was the thing that pinned it down, and then I could start writing it. And I wrote that with a friend of mine, Matt Gino. So I wrote the first like the verse little part, then he wrote the first chorus, and then sort of from there we then sort of like swapped it back over and then sort of finished the whole thing. In my mind, I'm gonna fly away someday soon. Break the chains and find a brighter day with you. Step outside the world inside my head to breathe instead. Take a trip in a beat-up car, no destination, an old guitar, see the colors of the dreams I never knew. And I'm free, cruising on these endless roads. Where I'm going, no one knows, but it's not hard to see. This way to feel, sitting tight in summer nights, mountain heights and bonfire lights. It's not that far from me, 'cause in my mind I'm gonna fly away. Wait and see, leave it all behind me for a day, just me. Strike the faded colors from the mast to breathe at last,
'Cause I would give my weight in gold to cut loose all the cares I hold, retake the lies I've told and make them true, and be free, sailing with the wind in tow, a million miles or more to go, doesn't matter much to me. 'Cause if you feel butterflies in bright blue skies, seagull cries and lazy tides, it's where you're meant to be. Oh, to be free, soaring into skies aglow, the worries of the world below are so small that I can't see. If I could feel cottontails and vapor trails, the shifting scales of stratospheres, it's where you're meant to be.
The Alpha Sessions.
Now, this did quite well in terms of streams. I know this is not important to everybody, numbers and following all of that, but how was the process in terms of releasing, talking about more of the industry side? Because was this all self-released and you pushed it yourself?
Yes, yeah, it was. So it was all self-released and self-recorded and everything. And yeah, I mean, release-wise, we got quite lucky because we released it. It was nice to have two of us for one. I think like when you're by yourself, I think you sort of you're everything to yourself, and sort of the and you probably have the same sort of thing, right? That like the distance between like you as an artist and you as a person is like it's like gossamer thin. There's nothing there. Whereas I think if you've got like a song that you've written with someone else, sort of like you can separate yourself from it a little bit. And so we were both sort of, because we both had that, we could sort of push it as like free the thing as opposed to like free the thing that we've written. And so we both just pushed it really hard. We submitted it to I think it was Radio 6 because they were doing like lockdown, like stuff that was written in lockdown. So sort of we got to piggyback off of that, and so they played it on. I think no, it was Radio 4. Sorry, so they played it on Radio 4 just before it was released, and so again that got a little boost. And again, it was just like pestering everyone that we knew. Like I'd like the same with this single. Like every time I do a single, like to get people to pre-save it, like I direct message like every single one of the people who follow me. It takes about a week, like do about 100 a day, but sort of just to to keep going. And the same sort of thing when it's out. It's like, right, it's out. Can you listen to it now? Can you playlist it now? And it's just doing that all the time, basically. I think it is an absolute grind. I mean, you must find the same sort of thing, right? That like you just got to grind it out, and like it's just putting in the hours of. It's not fun. It's not particularly interesting, but you've just got to sit and just grind away, basically.
Yeah, it does take a lot of energy out of you, doesn't it? It takes a lot of motivation and discipline as well. Yeah, which is something people struggle with a lot, I think. Do
you find like when you tell someone about it, like when they're like, "What have you done all day?" as well, and you're like, "I've just like," it's really hard to say like to make the argument that like what you've done, sort of like I find myself like talking about it to my wife, and it's just like, "What have you done?" And I'm sort of like, "Oh, I've just like messaged like 1,400 people and asked them to save my song," but it's kind of like as I'm saying, I'm sort of like, was that really good? Like, was that really good? Like,
is that good use of my time?
Yeah, like my wife works as a teacher, and so like she'll come back and she's like, I've done this, I've moulded the minds of the next generation. What have you done? I've just sat on my phone and I've messaged like 1,400 people to save my song, please.
But it is a long game, isn't it? It's like little bits all the time.
Yeah, definitely.
And it is worth it. Do you feel encouraged by it, or do you feel like disheartened? Like
I always feel encouraged at the end of it. Yeah, and sort of I always find like, if anything goes well, it's always a motivation to just work even harder. So like if I get like, I mean, this new single did really well. It's got 2,500 streams so far already, and came out on Friday. So nice. Great, and that's just that's motivation. Okay, submit it to more people, more playlists. Keep going. Like if I do a good show, it's kind of like I don't want to leave the stage. I want to sort of like I did a show on Saturday night, which went from like 9:30 till sort of to 1 o'clock. Finished at 1, but then they were like one more song, and I was sort of like, and it was going really well. So I was like, yeah, fine, no worries. So. The better it goes, the more I want to sort of just push it and keep it going, basically.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So the new single is Headphones.
The new single is Headphones.
When did this one come about? Is this a recent creation?
So this was written, I finished writing it in 2019, so it was meant to be recorded in 2020. And that was sort of, as I said before, the idea of it came when I was in first year, sort of wanting to write a song about just the idea of like walking and the feeling you get when, and it's not necessarily like, obviously the song's in a major key and it's a happy song, but just the feeling, the way that the headphones sort of, it amplifies your mood when you listen to music. Like if you're happy, it lifts you even higher. If you're sad, if you're feeling sort of upset about something, like you can really sort of like sit there and really sulk if you've got a sad song on, so you can really sort of like plunge the depths of your own soul kind of thing. And so that was the idea of it, and then it just sort of came about. The riff came about when I was in my fourth year. I remember writing it, that kind of like just the sort of like 6/8 kind of thing, and the lyric like I'm never alone in my brain when I got my headphones on, and I sang it. I was singing it in my room to myself. I've got a recording still on my phone from when I first recorded it, and my flatmate at the time, she was like, she came in like a week after. She was like you really wound me up. Like I've had that riff in my head for a whole week, like that lyric, like I can't get it out of my head. So I was like, okay, I might be onto something here. And then from there, I had this kind of idea that like, because the song was about music, so it's kind of like, it's quite a meta song really, a music song about music. I wanted to kind of paint the idea and sort of like have little like nods to bits in the music as well. So sort of like when the lyric like backbeat comes in, obviously like the backbeat comes in, and then like with the whole with the melodies thing, like the piano plays a little melody, and then like highs and lows sort of thing, like bringing the lyrics up and down. So sort of wanted to write songs that painted like a picture basically. So lyrics that painted the idea of sort of what was going on, and then sort of the whole thing sort of like came about that way. And then it was just sort of, it was recorded in the studio, and then like the last little bit, I can't remember when the idea to put like a guitar solo at the end came in, but again, it just sort of I think it just came about from jamming around with it, and like we sort of got to the end of the song and it was sort of like, well, why not? And then the guitar solo sort of came along as well. And so so it was sort of like, it was a slow process of sort of like trying to sort of work through stuff, so it sort of finally came together and it sort of worked out okay.
Yeah, it is a brilliant song. It is catchy.
Thank
After you played it earlier,
much.
I was very much singing it in my head.
Oh, thank you.
So that's where we are right now. How is it looking for the next sort of year? So is this something you're focusing on, or are you always thinking about the next thing?
So now I've got so when I recorded Headphones, I recorded another 5 tracks as well. So it's going to be part of a 6-track EP with the name potentially The Boy Who'll Forever Be, to sort of come out. And so now I've got the 6 tracks ready. The plan is to release them now once every 2 months, and try and actually build up a bit of a following and see if I can actually get a bit of consistency in my releases, because they've been, as you said, sort of very hideously infrequent for the last sort of 6 or 7 years.
That can be a good thing. I think it's normal to have sort of a big break and then do lots of releasing and have another big break. But an EP sounds very exciting.
Yes,
absolutely. And you're gigging a lot?
Yes, I'm gigging more so now than I was before. So I've got a release. I've got a gig tomorrow, which is coming out, or 6 days ago now. But that's at the Troubadour. And so I can tell the gig went great. It was fantastic.
Yes.
I've been signed at this point.
Congrats.
But yeah, and so then moving forward, the idea is just to sort of just to gig more and more and more, basically. Like I think what's been fun doing the gig this way, where, instead of working through a promoter, is like, because I've hired the venue out. Obviously, like I've booked the acts, and then like I've been the promoter and sort of worked in the ticket sales and the merchandise and everything, and so that's been really fun. And I think I want to try and get it to the point where like I can turn a profit off of a gig. That'd be nice.
No, always nice.
But I think obviously just doing it more and more is definitely the plan. And then so yes, I've got 5 more releases, hopefully 5 more launch gigs, and then just every open mic night and other gig that will have me basically is the plan for the next sort of year or so, just to see what happens of it basically.
You're on top of it, on top of your game.
I talk a big game, so we'll see if I can back it up after this.
I'm
but
sure
yeah, that's the plan, hopefully.
So if everyone wants to find you after this,
yes,
where can they find you? What's the name? How do they find you on Instagram?
So it's Leo Kelly G. So it's Leo, then KELLYGEE, and it's quite an easy. This is the only one, but it's on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I always say it's part of the wedding band I work for, like the spiel we do at the end. We say like we're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, like like Tinder, Grindr. Obviously not on those, but it's just to catch before I say those ones as well. I'm on YouTube as well, and yeah, sort of follow me. I post sort of reels and shorts and stuff all the time. Lots of guitar based sort of noodlery and stuff like that as well. And yeah, go and check it out.
Check out the new single Headphones.
And please check out I need to so bad at promoting myself. Please go and stream the single Headphones, and if you can feed the algorithm, stick it on a playlist, save it, share it, and just get it in front of as many people as you possibly can. Or even it's on TikTok now as well, so you can do like a dance to it if you want to do a dance to it.
Why not?
Like you can duet with it, like whatever you want to do with it, just do as much as you possibly can with it, and just get it in front of as many people as possible. It'd be amazing.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
When all of the sounds of the city start getting too loud for my head, I drown the car horns and pity, I turn up the music instead, boil my bones with the backbeat, yeah. Settle my soul with the swing, mellow my mind with the melodies, yeah. Give me a song I can sing. Oh, I keep in time with me, myself and I only, here in a world of my own. All alone, but I will never be lonely when I got my headphones on. And every lamppost a love song, every street light's a tune, every cloud is a heartbreak I'm under right now, but the sun's coming soon, yeah. Give me the moves to move mountains, bring that belief to my side. Give me the highs I can fly to, yeah. Give me the lows I can ride. Oh, I keep in time with me, myself and I only, here in a world of my own. All alone, but I will never be lonely when I got my headphones on, yeah. And every lamppost a love song, every street light's a tune, every cloud is a heartbreak I'm under right now, but the sun's coming soon, yeah. Tell me the things that I don't want to say to myself. Whisper me the words that I don't hear from anyone else. Take me to the places that I lose when I'm alone in my mind. Then lead me to a life that in the silence I can just never find, where every lamppost a love song, every street light's a tune, every cloud is a heartbreak I'm under right now, but the sun's coming soon, yeah. My headphones on, yeah, I'm never alone in my brain when I've got my headphones on, yes, and I'm never alone in my brain when I've got my headphones on, yeah, I'm never alone in my brain when I've got my headphones on.